Today, we're going deep inside the architecture of OCD. We're going to talk about what's really happening in the brain when a thought just gets stuck. And we'll use a pretty powerful analogy to make sense of this whole complex process. So, let me start by asking you something. Have you ever had one of those thoughts, a really strange, totally out of the blue idea just pops into your head, and you're just left there thinking, whoa, where on earth did that come from? If you said yes, you're not alone, not by a long shot. In fact, you're in the company of pretty much every single person on the planet. Turns out these weird little thoughts, they're a totally normal, totally universal part of just having a brain. Right, so these intrusive thoughts aren't some kind of personal failing. Let's try to think about them a different way. Maybe like a kind of universal glitch that's just built into our mental software. I want you to picture your brain like this incredible, nonstop factory. It's constantly churning out stuff. Ideas, memories, plans, you name it. But like any factory, every once in a while, the production line just spits out something weird, a piece of junk, a thought that's strange, maybe even a little disturbing, and completely irrelevant to anything. So if our brains are always making this mental junk, what do we do about it? Well, it turns out most of us have this brilliant piece of equipment built right in, designed for that exact job. Let's give it a name. We'll call it the spasm filter. You can think of it like the quality control manager for that thought factory we were talking about. Or even better, just think of it as the spam filter for your brain's inbox. Its job is super simple. Spot the junk and get it out of there immediately. And it works like this in 3 super quick steps. 1, that intrusive thought shows up. 2, the filter instantly flags it as junk mail. And 3, the thought gets deleted and you just move on with your day. You probably don't even notice it ever happened. And this is the really crucial part. For most people, this whole system, this filter, is so good at its job that it's basically invisible. It's just humming along silently in the background, keeping your mental workspace clean and focused on what actually matters. But that smooth, seamless operation, it isn't the case for everyone. For some people, this system doesn't just have a little glitch, it has a complete breakdown. So what happens when that elegant, automatic system just stops working? What if instead of filtering things out, it just freezes up, it glitches, or as we're calling it, it spasms? 2%. That number right there, that's the key. And yeah, it might not sound like a huge number, but it represents millions and millions of people whose mental filter just isn't working right. Because for about 2% of the population, that spam filter in their brain doesn't just miss a piece of junk mail here and there. Nope, it malfunctions, it spasms, and that creates a completely, totally different neurological experience. This chart really helps you see the scale of it. See that little slice? That's the part of the population we're talking about, where the brain's internal spam blocker is, well, faulty. Okay, so this really lays out the 2 different realities, side by side. In a typical brain, a junk thought is no big deal. It's like a passing cloud. But when that filter spasms, that same exact thought becomes a locked gate. The brain literally gets stuck. It just cannot move past. And this feeling of being stuck, it actually has a clinical name. It's called an obsession. And we're not just talking about a thought you have once. No, this is a thought or an image or an urge that gets trapped on this relentless loop. And every single time it goes around, it just cranks up the distress and the anxiety. Now, this level of intense distress, it's not something the brain can just tolerate. It starts desperately looking for an escape route, any way out. And that feeling of desperation, that's what kicks off the next part of this whole thing, the compulsion cycle. So just try to picture it. That one single intrusive thought, the one that should have been deleted by the spam filter, well, now it is completely taken over. It's loud, it won't go away, and it feels unbelievably important and frankly dangerous. And in response to that, the body's internal alarm system just goes haywire. Anxiety shoots through the roof. It creates this overwhelming, totally unbearable feeling of panic and dread. The mind is just screaming for anything to make it stop. And right there, in that moment of pure desperation, some kind of behavior presents itself. It could be anything, really. Any action that feels like it might neutralize the threat or dial down that anxiety. It feels like an escape hatch. And that is what a compulsion is. It's not just some random quirk. It's actually a logical, even if it doesn't work long term, it's a logical attempt to find relief. It's an action or a mental ritual that a person feels absolutely driven to do just to try and calm down that intense anxiety that the obsession created. And here's the kicker. For a second, it actually works. Doing the compulsion brings this little wave of relief. But, and this is a huge but, the relief is only temporary. The filter is still broken. So pretty soon, another intrusive thought gets stuck, the anxiety spikes all over again, and the whole cycle just starts right back up. And a lot of times, it's even stronger than it was before. So when you really understand this cycle, this whole neural spasm idea, you start to see that for those millions of people, life isn't just about getting through the day. It's a constant, absolutely exhausting battle against these waves of unwanted, sticky thoughts inside their own head. This whole architecture of OCD, it shows us a brain that's not just thinking, it's literally fighting itself. And that leaves us with a really powerful final thought. What happens to a person when their own mind becomes the battlefield?